Kubera, god of wealth, had become arrogant. One day he decided to host an extravagant feast for the gods, such a feast as never had been hosted before. It would increase his prestige and show all men and gods the extent of his wealth and influence. Accordingly, he went to Mount Kailash to invite Lord Shiva. Shiva was his patron. Kubera owed all his wealth to Shiva, who, pleased with his devotion, had given him the boon that his wealth would never diminish, no matter how much he spent. Shiva declined to come but said he would send his son, Ganesha. Kubera was disappointed. Shiva's presence would have been a feather in his cap. But at least he was sending Ganesha. It would have been a terrible snub if no one from the family were to come. Kubera resolved to make the feast so grand that Shiva's absence would not be felt. The guests were many, thousands of them, both gods and men. They were accommodated in a huge hall built especially for the purpose. The chief guest, Ganesha, was the last to come. The moment he entered, he began to ask for food. He was shown to a seat of honor and tantalizing dishes were set before him. He gulped them down and asked for more. He was given a second helping and then a third, but his appetite remained undiminished. Kubera ordered his army of cooks to produce more food, but they could not keep pace with Ganesha's eating frenzy. The elephant god was eating food meant for thousands. When he had finished all the food set before him, he began to shout, "Give me more, give me more," and then getting impatiently to his feet, rushed to the enormous kitchen and devoured all the food there. Kubera was aghast. All the food was gone and the guests had not been fed. Was Ganesha was still hungry. "You call this a feast?" Ganesha admonished Kubera. "There's no food here. I'm going home." Kubera pleaded with him to stay, promising him more food in a little while, but his young guest was in no mood to listen. He got on his mount and sped away. Kubera, fearing Shiva's wrath, followed in his own vehicle. When he arrived at Kailash, he found Ganesha complaining loudly to his father about the lack of food at his feast. "What's this I hear, Kubera?" asked Shiva, turning to the god. "No food at your feast?" I, mumbled Kubera. "Go in and ask your mother for some food," said Shiva to his son. I'm sure Kubera did his best. I did, my lord," said Kubera, feeling miserable. His feast had turned into a farce. Instead of adding to his prestige, it had made him a laughing stock. But he was relieved to see that Shiva did not appear to be angry. He fell at his patron's feet and begged forgiveness for his pride. One day, goddess Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva, was getting ready for her bath and needed someone to guard her chamber. Therefore she made a beautiful, young boy from the sandalwood from her body. She gave him life by sprinkling the holy Ganges water on him and entrusted him with guarding the door. While she was away, Lord Shiva returned and was surprised to find a little boy standing at the entrance to his wife's chamber. When he tried to enter, the boy blocked his path. "Who are you and why are you blocking my path?" demanded Lord Shiva. "No one enters my mother's chamber," declared the boy boldly. Taken aback, Lord Shiva replied, "Step away. I have the right to enter my wife's chamber." But the young and courageous boy did not move but stood his ground. Not knowing that this was his own son, Lord Shiva, who was quick to anger, grew enraged. Not used to be disobeyed, he cut off the boy's head. Goddess Parvati, on returning from her bath, saw her son lying dead and was overcome with grief. She was filled with both anger and sorrow. Seeing this, Lord Shiva sent his soldiers to fetch the head of the first beast that they saw. The men rushed and finally came upon an elephant. They immediately took the head to Lord Shiva, who quickly attached it onto the body of the slain boy and gave him life once again. To further appease his grief-stricken wife, he promised that her son would be worshipped first, before all other gods. Even today, at the entrance of all temples, one would find the idol of the elephant-headed god, Lord Ganesha. Once a gentleman was traveling in a train. He felt thirsty and got down at a station in search of water. No sooner had he reached the water tap than the engine whistled and started. He ran back but missed the train. It was getting darker and he decided to spend the night at the station. The next morning he inquired about the next train. He came to know that the next train was on the other day. So he decided to find a place for a day's stay. He went to the nearby lodges to ask for a room but found none. It was getting darker and he could not find a room. At last he reached a small hut. He asked the owner of the hut whether he could stay in his house for a day. The owner readily agreed. That day the owner served him food and gave him a room to stay, but did not ask nor expected anything in return. At night, when it did strike 7 in the clock, the gentleman heard a knock at the door. The villager opened the door. The gentleman saw that a man dressed in gaudy and rich clothes entered the hut and demanded the owner to pay his debts. The gentleman came to know that the villager was in need of money. The next morning he slipped a pocket in the drawer of the room and left. When the villager came to know about the pocket, he saw that there was a note addressed to him. It read, "You helped me but did not expect anything from me. Yesterday I heard the conversation between you and the stranger and came to know that you were in need of money. This is what you need.